y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The What? This is the season 2 premiere. Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. However you're consuming this video, audio, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support from season 1, where I was just in the background, had like this wall and nothing else, and just a microphone standing up. Now, got a little lights, got a little, interesting background, some ambiance, thanks to you guys. So, once again, I'm saying thank you. I'm going to be saying thank you a lot throughout the season, throughout, all multiple seasons, because it's not possible without people supporting and, checking me out and, tuning into me ramble. So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This episode, I wanted to go over 2025 a little bit in terms of my top 5 albums. And honestly, I didn't really get too much into TV and movies in 2025. Life happened, so music was the only thing where I consumed, where this year music was the only thing that I really had time to consume and put my all into. So that's what I'll be discussing mostly in this episode, my top 5 albums. And then next I'll just run along through the TV and movies I watched. Like I said before, it was very I didn't have time to really do and watch. I didn't really have time much in 2025 to watch all the shows and movies I wanted to. So I'm just going to do like a rundown of the things I've seen, give like a quick synopsis. But the albums I'll be deep diving into. And then I'll be doing most anticipated of 2026 this year. So let's get started. Let's start off with number 5, which was actually the toughest. Number 5 was actually the toughest selection I had to make. But for 2025, which I actually had a choice between 4 albums, all from the same person. Westside Gunn, he released 4 projects this year. One was 12, which I assume that was Hitler 12, which that was the first one to come out. And then he had the Hills Have Eyes series 1, 2, and 3, which if you saw the controversy with him in the WWE, he had to replace the album covers for the Hills Have Eyes. But number 5, I chose the first Hills Have Eyes, even though the second and third have a lot of songs on there that I do like, even some more on the first one. But I think the first Hills Have Eyes is very concise. It's to the point. I just think every track just does what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to deliver that signature Griselda sound, while Westside Gunn does his thing. And then Egypt, great song, love that. And then he does the remix with Doechii, which is fire, which I loved. So yeah, number 5 is Hills Have Eyes 1 by Westside Gunn. Now, number 4 was Mike with his album Showbiz. Mike, I've been into since around 2019. I learned about him from, Earl kind of I would say, borrowing his sound and, excuse me, kind of incorporating his own. Even though Mike clearly has had inspiration from Earl, Earl himself has taken inspiration from Mike. And with Showbiz, this was just another example of Mike with his unique style of how he flows, and with the beats he chose, with some of the looping samples, and yeah, he just did his thing with this. He has a way with words. Honestly, it's like I said, similar to Earl Sweatshirt, how he has a way with words. Mike is the same thing, but you could tell it's his own style. Like sometimes he'll, run words together in one sentence, and if you're not used to that, you'll think he's just mumbling. But if you really catch what he's saying, he's really saying, some really profound things. So Showbiz was just another example of him doing that. Really enjoyed that album. Could have been higher, but there were 3 other albums that I just couldn't stop playing. So yeah, number 4 is Mike with Showbiz. Now number 3, this album I didn't like that much, honestly. At first I thought it was cool, but I ended up liking it even more. And that's Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist with Alfredo 2. Now, the first Alfredo, I loved almost every single track. I thought it was dope. Now, when the second one came out, which I'll be honest, there's an album that came out before that. Probably, I don't remember the distance between them, but I was listening to that album, which, I think if you could take a guess, it'll end up in one of the top 2 spots next. But with Alfredo 2, it took me a little bit of time for it to click for me, because I was too busy listening to the other album. But once it clicked, probably around the 3rd or 4th listen, because there was something about it. I just thought the beats were down, and Freddie always gonna rap, but it just wasn't clicking. And then one day I just put it on, and I just couldn't stop listening to it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's really, really good. This is really, really good. From Enchilada to Gas Station Sushi, which is probably my favorite. Well, that and Skinny Shook too. There's a couple of favorites from that album. I'm just looking up the track list real quick, because like I said before, when it hit. Like 1995, which is the sequel to 1985 from the first one. Like, I wasn't feeling it at first, and then once it came in, I'm just like, oh, okay, it clicked. I'm like, yeah, this is dope. And Enchilada with featuring Anderson .Paak, which is their second collaboration. The first being the track off of Bandana, which Bandana, if you haven't listened to it, go do that. Which I can't even think of the song right now that they did. It was Giannis. So yeah, they had Giannis in 2019, and then they come back for Enchilada, which I think is better than Giannis, actually. And Giannis is great, but for them to surpass that song, I thought was great. Yeah, Skinny Shook Part 2, Shangri-La, 1,000 Mountains, Jid, he killed Gold Feet. He did his thing. But yeah, Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, Alfredo 2 is my number 3 for sure. Now, my number 2 album of 2025 is Earl Sweatshirt with Live, Love, Laugh. This album was really, if you're an Earl fan, this album was really like a landmark in his career. You know, he just had a kid. He's in a seemingly loving relationship, and it's kind of switched up. Not really his sound, because it's still kind of weird. He still has that flow that we're used to, but just the subject matter of him being happier and, you know, more fulfilled with life, with having a kid, and, you know, having to be a parental figure in someone's life, it, you know, will obviously change, you know, who you are, and it's reflective of the music, which I thought was great. This one, I think, with a lot of Earl projects after, I want to say like 2018, with some rap songs, it's like, okay, I need to listen to this more and it'll probably click. Not saying this didn't click at first, because there's some songs on here that he had unreleased that I was bumping him like, yeah, he needs to put this on the album, and he did. So thank you for that. But yeah, from the intro, all the way from the intro, Golden State versus Sacramento, to Exhaust, which I think Exhaust is low-key a top 5, top 10 Earl song. And just, I think how you start a track and how you end the track is very important, and he did that well with this album. Which, you know, I'll go back to Exhaust real quick. Even the instrumental just sounds like very hopeful, and just that whole verse, that's probably one of my favorite verses of the year, honestly. Just that whole verse of, you know, just like I said, an evolution. It's like, you couldn't imagine Earl spitting his verse not even like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I thought it was great. Well Done was great. Static, Crisco, just, yeah, it just flows great, which Earl's always had concise projects, but this one hit a little different. And it would have been my number one probably any other year, but there's another album that took that spot. But yes, Earl Sweatshirt, Live, Love, Laugh is my number 2. Now, my number 1 album for this year, if you've been under a rock, that's the only reason you wouldn't guess what the number 1 album for me is, and that's Clips, Let God Sort 'Em Out. We've been waiting for years for this album. I want to say, what's it been, 15 years, 16? I think 16 years since the last album. And, you know, they separated. Malice went to go, I think Pusha explained it best. Malice found religion, Tony found prison. I'm just trying to make my way up out this fucking kitchen. Yeah, them separating, and Pusha T excuse me, them separating and Pusha T going on to do his solo career, which, you know, gained much success through the production with Kanye and still working with Pharrell and other producers, and him just being able to carve out his own lane, and then to come back together 16 years later to create this, which honestly I didn't expect for it to be this good. Well, first of all, I want to talk about their rollout real quick. From all the, well, actually, let me start with this. A lot of the artists today that sell, they don't really do interviews and rollouts. They just release the album or do like social media posts, which is cool when some artists, you know, are a little mysterious. But with these guys being 40, almost, you know, in their 50s, I think Malice might be in his 50s, but for them to go to Tiny Desk and do interviews with New York Times, Breakfast Club, all these outlets, Joe Budden podcast. For them to do all these outlets and do all these performances, I commend them for doing that. I salute that because, like I said, we don't see that anymore with the top selling artists. So for them to do that was great. But the rollout wouldn't have even mattered if the album wasn't great, which turned out this album was just fantastic. From the birds they'll sing, how emotional, which I'm not even a super fan of John Legend like that, which I am from the first album, which I thought the first album of his, Get Lifted, was a classic. But overall, I'm not a huge John Legend fan, especially of his newer stuff. But him on The Birds Don't Sing, I thought was perfect on. And then Push and Malice's verses, them just talking about the death of their parents, and from their perspective, each perspective, linked the story of basically how the mom passed and then the dad passed just a couple months apart, and how Malice had to find his dad. If you haven't heard the album, that first song, even if you're not a fan of the clips, that song is gonna hook you into wanting to listen to the album, which is why I think they performed that the most on live television, because it invokes a certain emotion with the death of the parents and how they described it. But yeah, then after that you get Chains and Whips with Kendrick, you get POV with Tyler, So Be It, Ace Trumpets. It just goes down to just great song after song. Even a song like Inglorious Bastards, which I was kind of iffy on with the beat. Well, actually, I want to give a shout out to Pharrell, which I was unsure if he could deliver with his recent kind of production style. Has been something that's kind of, I'm not gonna say bad, but it's not up to the Pharrell quality that we're used to over the years. He's delivered with, his solo work and the Neptunes. But with this, yeah, he created some dark production, some uplifting production, some bangers. It was just a whole collection of some things that I wasn't expecting. Even like I was talking about with Inglorious Bastards, like that's a signature type of Clips Neptunes beat for 2026, and I thought that was captured perfectly. Actually, shout out to Ab Liba as well, or Ab Liva. I think it's Ab Liva, but yeah, him doing that was great. Yeah, I could talk about this album all day, but Mike Tyson blow to the face. Woo! That beat, when I first heard that, crazy. Yeah. Let God Sort 'Em Out by the Clips is my number one album of the year. So, just to have a rundown of the albums, my number 5 was Westside Gunn with Hills Have Eyes 1. My number 4 was Mike with Showbiz. Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist with Alfredo 2 was my number 3. My number 2 was Earl Sweatshirt with Live, Love, Laugh. My number 1 was Clips, Let God Sort 'Em Out. So those are my top 5 albums of the year. I do want to give some honorable mentions because, like I said, it was a great year. 12 by Westside Gunn, I mentioned before, was great. God Does Like Ugly by JID was great. I thought he was just at a another tier of rapping, and I thought he did his thing with that. Don't Tap the Glass by Tyler, I did not like at all when I first listened to it. It's kind of growing on me. It's kind of growing on me, honestly. You know, when it came on at the concert, still wasn't feeling it, but probably like a couple weeks after that, I just happened to turn it on, and I'm like, okay, I see where he was going. Well, I saw where he was going the first listen, but it wasn't really hitting me, but it did hit me. Not enough to be like, oh, it's fantastic, but good project. I liked that. I liked it. Playboy Cardi with Music. This was my first ever Playboy Cardi album that I liked in total. Which is it glazing that I like this, and Kendrick so happened to be on it? Maybe we'll never know. So yeah, music I thought was good. Starline with Chance the Rapper. Starline. That could have easily been in my top 5 if I had listened to it enough. I probably listened to it like 2-3 times. That's a really condensed album. He spit. That's probably Chance the Rapper's best rapping. He came back great with a wonderful album. De La Soul's Cabin in the Sky. I wish I had time. I had the time to listen to that more, because I thought that album was really good. I only listened to it like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, for it to be a posthumous album for one of the members, Dave, rest in peace, for them to create this while having the death of one of the instrumental founders of the group was dope. It kind of reminded me of when Tribe Called Quest did Thank You for Your Service. No, I forget the whole name of that album. We Got It From Here, Thank You for Your Service. It reminded me of that, and how they'd be able to still create this, wonderful album in the landscape of it. It reminded me of that. But yeah, those are my top albums of 2025. Now, I did say before that I didn't get to watch as many movies and TV shows as I wanted to. So I just want to do a quick rundown of those things. Which honestly, the movies, I've seen a lot of bullshit in 2025. Some good stuff. Fantastic Four, I thought was pretty cool. I like Fantastic Four. Think it's as far as the next phase of Marvel, I think they're going in an interesting direction that I am interested to see. In terms of Marvel, I think Fantastic Four is a cool step in an interesting direction that they're taking. So I am intrigued a bit. But yeah, I like Fantastic Four. Superman by James Gunn was really good. I thought that was great. Really enjoyed that. Can't wait to see what they do with that universe, because I think Supergirl is coming out this year or next year. I don't remember right now. I'm just trying to. Oh, Sinners. Sinners was really, really good. That's probably my favorite movie of 2025. Ryan Coogler delivering a unique story, which, in Hollywood, that's very rare nowadays, with all the sequels and prequels and adaptations of this. Even though there's, some inspiration from like a couple of vampire movies, things like that. But overall, Sinners was his own thing. Of course, Michael B. Jordan, great performance. Don't even need to talk about it. But yeah, Sinners was great. Final Destination Bloodlines. If you are a fan of the Final Destination series, you already know how it goes. And this just falls in line with that. Except for a couple of the Final Destinations, I think it was like third or fourth one where it's like, it's not really doing what it's supposed to do. But this one did what it was supposed to do. You're not gonna have fantastic acting. You just want to see people get killed. So they achieved that with Bloodlines. Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is pretty cool. Like I said, that next step into Marvel, this is one of those where it's like the street level characters have their own team. We'll see how they get incorporated into the future Avengers, the plan with Doctor Doom. We'll see how that develops. Ballerina was cool, part of the John Wick series. It's a John Wick movie, just with a woman. So, yes, same concept. I thought it was cool. Captain America: Brave New World, I thought was cool. The first time I watched it, I thought it was good, and the second time, I'm like, okay, I could see some of the flaws, but I still enjoyed it. I don't think you could say it was a terrible movie. There was a few terrible things that happened in terms of like story, like what the hell is that? But overall, I thought it was cool. Now let me get to some of the bullshit I seen. Him bullshit. I'm not gonna call him bullshit. I'm gonna call it high grade mid. The acting was good, but in terms of the story, the messages they were trying to do, I thought they were way over the top. What the messaging is like, okay, we get it. Football is a cult, satanic, blah 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 blah. We get it, and it kind of treated the audience like they were stupid. There were some stupid things that happened in that movie, and I don't think the story paid off well enough for the acting to save it. But yeah, that was some bullshit. Opus, I thought was mid. It was like bullshit version of Midsommar. But yeah, that wasn't that good to me. Highest to lowest. Oh my gosh, that was some bullshit. Bullshit. Denzel. That's probably one of the worst Denzel movies he's been in, and that's saying something, because Denzel's been in not too many stinkers. I'm gassing it, but he's this one was definitely one of Spike Lee's worst movies. ASAP Rocky. I've seen you act before. I don't know why you was acting like you never acted before, and you was trash in that movie. Sorry. What else? Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It's basically the Fast and Furious of magician movies. So I guess they're gonna keep on going with that. They're gonna run that into the ground. So yeah, that was movies. TV shows. I watched a couple. Like I said, I'm gonna just do a rundown. Paradise, which I forgot actually came out this year. It came out at the top of the year. I thought it came out in 2024. Excuse me. I thought it came out in 2024. When I was just looking over the shows I had watched, I thought that was really a good mystery. I thought it was intriguing. I enjoyed that. Pluribus. I still can't say that right. Pluribus. It did end. I think it ended in 2026, but it started in 2025, and I think the last episode, or was it in 20? Was the last episode 2026? I can't remember right now, but I think, yeah, that was really good. That's probably one of my favorites. The studio I thought was really great. Seth Rogen being a big shot movie producer and the hurdles of doing that. I thought it was interesting and funny. Severance season 2, I thought I liked it. It was a bit weird. The ending was like, what the hell? But I am interested in season 3. and seeing what they do with that. But yeah, overall I liked season 2. Dope Thief was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but I did enjoy that. Lastly, Marvel Zombies, which is one of my favorite. Probably, if I had to make a list, it would probably be like top 3. Marvel Zombies. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, and it was really, really good. One of my favorite Marvel things that they've done in a couple of years. So yeah, Marvel Zombies. And that's my 2025 review of albums, movies, TV. My most anticipated movies, TVs, and albums to come out this year. With movies, Michael, the biopic that's supposed to be coming. I am very interested to see what they do with that. From the look of the trailer, I don't think it looks too bad. His nose looks kind of weird, but that's a nitpick. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with that. Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu, which I literally just found out they were doing that today, and I am interested because I do like The Mandalorian. I thought the series was great, so I will be interested in that. The Odyssey, by Christopher Nolan, based on the epic tale. I am interested in anything Christopher Nolan. Is going to be a big cinephile movie event, so I'm interested in that. They Will Kill You, a new movie, kind of reminds me of like Kill Bill in terms of the killing. Starring Zazie Beetz. From the trailer, it looks interesting. I'm interested in seeing her slash up a bunch of satanic cult people. Which I think the description was a housemaid gets hired into a hotel, and she just so happened to be in like the middle of a satanic cult, and they're trying to sacrifice her, and she's not letting it happen, and she's killing a whole bunch of people. So yeah, interested in that. And my last anticipated movie is Avengers Doomsday. I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I am interested to see what they do. There's going to be a lot of fan service, going to be a lot of throwback characters. I do think they're kind of pulling on the heartstrings of the first kind of Marvel fans that didn't necessarily like this new phase after Endgame, which is why they're reaching back to get Captain America, to get Thor and X-Men characters from the early movies. So I am interested to see what they do. And Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. So yeah, interested in that. TV shows. Paradise season 2. I'm kind of wondering what direction they'll go, because with the storytelling, it's like a lot of telling things from the past and bringing it into the present. So maybe they'll reveal more with the story, but I am interested to see what they do with that. Where is he taking that airplane? Invincible season 4, I'm interested in. Only thing I have to say is Thrag is coming. Thrag is coming. Boys season 5, the last season. This will be interesting. Just from the trailer, it looks like this is gonna be epic. We'll see what happens with that. Who is Homelander punching? Who is Homelander beating to death? Euphoria season 3. There was so many things surrounding the series. When is it coming back? Are the actors too old? And they're doing a time skip, which I think is smart. From season 2, which I found a lot of people didn't like season 2. I think season 2 was great. I thought the acting was great. The directing is always great, but I thought everyone did a great job on season 2. Not as good as season 1, but season 2 was really great. Um, X-Men 97 season 2. The first X-Men 97 was fantastic. I thought that was a surprise for me. That came out in 2024, and it was one of my favorite series of that year. Probably one of my favorite X-Men things in general. Probably my favorite X-Men thing they've done. Um, Now, music albums that are supposed to be coming out this year. Well, some supposed to, some are like loosely confirmed, but we do know that ASAP Rocky's Don't Be Dumb is coming January 18th. I am interested to see what he does with that. I know he plays with different sounds. The first single, what was it called? Punk Rocky, I think. That's what it was called. I am interested to see, what else he does, because that was like a punk song, and I thought it was all right. I'm not a huge punk fan, so my opinion isn't really valid in that instance. But yeah, Don't Be Dumb. We've been waiting for almost a decade for that album. So yeah, let's see what he does with that. I'm just trying to see what's really confirmed. JID and Metro Boomin with God Doesn't Like Ugly. It's supposed to be Metro on the beats, JID on the raps. What more could you really ask for with those two? So I'm interested in that. Freddie Gibbs and K Tronada, another MC producer collab that I'm interested in. Freddie Gibbs, he's always gonna kill any production, so which is why I'm interested with him. And K Tronada is gonna do what he does, so I am interested in that. I'm gonna put these two albums kind of together because they're from the same producer, but they're separate. Alchemist, working with Erykah Badu on, I think it's called Abby and Allen. That's supposed to be coming out, which they announced it for 2025, but then it got delayed somehow. I'm interested in that. And then Alchemist and Yasin Bey with the Forensics. That was supposed to come out last year, and it didn't. But yeah, I am interested in those. Seeing how that goes. Baby Keem. It's been like 5 years, bro. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you've been doing. Are you in the PG Lang sweatshop? I hope not. But we need an album from you, man. I need to see what you've been doing. Stove Got Cooks with God Stamp. That is going to be great. His first full-length feature project. I am excited for that. Not a lot of people like that first single he came out with, which I assume is on the album, but I thought it was cool. And then the second song, I thought it was good. I can't think of the names right now, but I am intrigued. D'Angelo is supposed to be, well, obviously, rest in peace to D'Angelo. Who was it? Questlove confirmed that an album was done, so hopefully we get that this year. I'm interested to see what's, the last posthumous album, which, I'm usually not a fan of posthumous albums, but with Tribe and De La Soul doing theirs, I am thinking this is going to be really, really great. J. Cole with The Fall Off. He announced that last year, and it was supposed to come out in 2025, but obviously with the whole battle situation happening, it kind of delayed him. So I'm interested to see what he does. I'm not the biggest J. Cole fan, but I do listen to whenever he comes out because I think he can rap. But this is supposed to be his last album before he supposedly retires, so let's see what happens with that. And my last one is gonna be actually Iceman. Iceman by Drake. I think this is probably was one of the most anticipated albums from him, maybe since shit, I can't even remember. Maybe Take Care. This is like something that's gonna be career defining for him. It could be just a typical Drake project that we've gotten in the last couple years, some mid, but it could be one of his best, following the events of what happened with him and Kendrick. It's just to see what he does, because I do like Drake when his quote unquote back is against the wall and quote unquote everyone is against him, and he starts to rap like it. I do like that type of style of rapping that he does, and hopefully it results in some great music. But yeah, that's my most anticipated movies, music, TV shows to come out this year. And that'll be it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching, listening, however you're consuming this. Follow me on all my social medias. IG is at @the_what show. My TikTok is at @the_what show. Excuse me. And then my YouTube is at the what show. And my Twitter is at Mentis_E. Just interact with those accounts. Let me know how you like this episode, comments, things of that nature. I'm interested to see what you guys say. And yeah, I'm out. Peace.
I'm so bossy, bitch, get off me. It's a different jingle when you hear these car keys. Your SL's missing the S, nigga. Your plane's missing a shift. The common theme, see, they both got wings. If you fly, do it to death. It's only one God and it's only one crown, so it's only one king that can stand on this man.